Hello, and welcome to this After Athena podcast. I'm Chris Boyle, partner and head for After Athena. In this episode of People Matters, we look at how AI is making a huge impact for all workplaces, including as a vital support to all areas of HR and employment law. I'm pleased to say today I'm joined by Charlie Winton, founder of OKPositive, who helps empower organizations to provide accessible AI-driven mental health support tailored to the unique needs of their employees. Hello, Charlie.
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for joining us. So
It's
we're
good to
going to
be
talk
here.
about AI, and we have a lot of details to get through. But I think probably the best place to start is what is AI?
Well, in essence, there's a lot of kind of scaremongering around what AI really is and what we should be scared about as opposed to what it really is in workplace settings. AI, or kind of artificial intelligence, at this point has gone through a journey from being really a kind of superimposed Google of asking questions and getting answers into something now which is quite tangible for efficiency in workplaces. So it really is an assistant, or now at its latest stage, an agent to support people with becoming more efficient in things that they do in their work life. So really the stuff that people are scared about when it comes to AI is the robotics side, or it's creating its own systems. It's telling, you see all the stories, it's telling it to self it won't turn off, or how to solve the global warming or climate crisis is to destroy all humans, and everyone starts going, oh no, AI is going to take over the world. But in reality, it's an assistant that helps people find information quicker, utilize that information and resources into their working lives much faster than they currently can, and it reduces administrative tasks. So it's at that stage of being at support infrastructure for people in workplaces.
Yeah. What are the main concerns then of employees or organizations in terms of using it?
It's essentially data privacy, which is the same for everyone. I think everyone worries about what they put online and what's representing them as an organization or as an individual. We're all worried about the pictures we put online on Facebook or different systems. It's the same thing with this, but it's far more risky because it is based on an organization's data infrastructure, their IP, the knowledge that they have. So using, and we'll touch upon that, I suppose, later, is around using safeguards and systems and policies that allow that information to be used in a safe manner internally in organizations, so that you can get the benefits of this functionality that everyone is now starting to use and not using properly, or struggling to understand, and using it in a way that is actually meaningful for an organization moving forward.
Yeah. And we see quite a lot of in the press, ChatGPT, Trustpilot within the organization. Certainly we have that. How many people are actually using it? And how do you think this will progress going forwards into the future?
Well, at the moment, you're seeing the kind of big players. So your OpenAIs, your Google, Apple, X, everyone's kind of fighting towards this super app. I know people were talking about it previously, that, you know, these big leaders of these tech businesses are saying that you'll only need one app, one AI agent to support you through your life, and you can bolt in whatever you like. 1.5 billion people are using it currently across the globe. It's tracking to be 3 billion in a year's time. So this is no longer a thing of people talking about, oh, should we use AI or shouldn't we? It's coming, it's there, it's growing, it's getting far more advanced than people actually assumed it would at this stage. And I think that's where there's a lot of concern, is for organizations. People are using this, they're using ChatGPT, they're using these big providers which have very generic information to try and improve their work. Whereas I think the future is it's integrated into what people do. If you imagine Microsoft Teams have Copilot, it's an aspect of it. So it sits in the corner and it can be used there to improve the efficiency of using Microsoft Teams. However, it's now going to start integrating in where the main product is conversational AI, and you're using that to use the other functionality. So it's going to kind of flip on its head a little bit.
Yeah. And I suppose we see a lot about agents, and we'll come on to that later, no doubt, but that's playing a massive part now in the way people use AI as well, or will.
Yeah, essentially, it's gone from AI, just the new go and try this, create a poem in the voice of Ravi Burns or whatever it is, very generic stuff, or find out information on Google quicker, to essentially what were co-pilots, which would help you do a administrative task. So a Microsoft Word document, spelling, whatever it may be, to now kind of moving into assistants and now agents. So assistants were very much pulling knowledge so that people could use that was relevant to what they wanted. So if they work in marketing, they could use it for marketing purposes. And so you're seeing a lot of different software providers that will bolt it in to what they do. That's not true AI. The LLMs, or the management systems for it, and the functionality are being pulled in to make things easier in systems. It's now moving to agents. Well, it's already at agent stage, where it will integrate into the systems, and it will be living and breathing and using that knowledge to do these jobs for us. But not overtaking the jobs that people do worry about.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. Again, we'll come on to. But just in terms of HR, the world of HR and employment law that we operate in, how do you see this helping specifically HR professionals? Because we've adopted some AI tools in recent years, and I think even just that small element, we see there is a benefit. So, how do you see it from an HR point of view?
Well, having spoken to kind of HR professionals and people leaders over the last 6 years, there's always kind of key themes that come up, which is time, capacity, resource, and money as the issues that they struggle with, and kind of being the superheroes within an organization. But the problem is you're working for two key players. You're working for the organization and the employees within that, and that becomes kind of a middle person situation where you're probably dealing with everything from policies all the way through to well-being, all the way through to mediations, to all these different things that come up in a day. And we're only humans, right? And HR people are humans as well as the rest of us, to go, right, well, we need to understand how to help people in different situations, but that usually leads to having to deal with situations reactively, having to deal with things face to face all the time. So they can't focus on strategy, they can't focus on the bigger issues and challenges and plans moving forward. And where AI will now sit within that, I think, is making some of those things that take a bit longer. I remember speaking to a few HR professionals that were writing entirely new policies, and that was taking up their work for months. For firstly understanding what policy should be and how that fits to their employee and workforce, all the way through to implementing it, writing it, doing all of the different tasks. AI will come in to alleviate some of those stresses. And also I suppose the crucial bit for me is that knowledge is power when it comes to HR, and also for employees to understand, simple things like what's our holiday policy, what's our maternity policy, what's our sick leave policy, all this information that usually people will just go, I don't know the answer to this, so I need to go and ask. And what that does is it builds up a backlog of issues and challenges that the HR teams have to deal with. Now we're being able to pull this information and push it out to individuals within the organization instantly, bespoke to what they need. And therefore it's going to reduce that backlog on individual issues or having to deal with the fighting fires within organizations. So it really will be an infrastructure that makes life a lot easier for HR professionals to do the things that they're passionate about, which is supporting the organization, supporting their employees, building new policies, building new services, support channels. And the problem I've always found with HR professionals is that they have so many different systems in one place that they have to figure out and go and use. So is it the payroll system? Is it the holiday system? Do they have a different CRM for this? Do they have a different tool that they use for this? And that can become overwhelming for anyone within an organization, especially HR. And so having that all sealed in one place that is almost as knowledgeable as they are, which they can then use to automate some of the tasks that previously they had to spend a lot of time and resource and money on, they won't have to do anymore. And so it will become best of both worlds for both sides, for both HR and the employees that they support.
Just on that concept, because I think when people talk about AI, HR, the processes, at its very basic level, people have chatbots, assistants who can read a policy, read a handbook. Maybe an employee can go on and search for a disciplinary or equality policy. But your view is that the possibilities now are connecting to the whole of the HR database systems, and effectively creating an intelligent assistant who can make decisions, can effectively remind HR professionals of things that may have gone in the past. So it's evolved, hasn't it, a hell of a lot since, over the last 12, 18 months.
Yes, and it's going to continue evolving. It's at the stage of what we call now conversational AI, and it's the future. Essentially, it will be an agent that supports HR in every function that they need it to do, and it can be set up however you want it to be. So if you imagine previously it would help you write a policy, it would help you do these things. Now it will do it for you, and it will do it based on what you want it to do, and it will link it into the system that it needs to go to. Even as far as emails, it can link into things like Teams, Outlook, Google. So essentially, it can write emails for you and remind you. And the key is with conversational, it doesn't rely on any training. You'll just be able to type in exactly what you want or speak to it, which is coming in very soon, voice to voice, where you go, okay, I've got a meeting coming up for a mediation or a disciplinary, and I need to know exactly what to do as per our policy. And also you're learning, and it will remember each situation that you've gone through, remind you of when you need to do the follow-up, which will pop up onto your screen saying, by the way, you need to do this. Would you like me to put that into your calendar? And then it might even start advising you. It will never overtake you. It will advise you on, okay, well, we need to amend this policy because these situations keep coming up, or we need to create a new policy, and would you like me to do that for you, and would you like me then to sync that into the system? So you're taking months of work there and making it that you don't remove the people element. You're still having these conversations, you're still undertaking the mediation, and you're undertaking the process of developing the policy, but it's the bits that take so much time that will be done for you. And as long as it's sealed off and safeguarded into the organization, it will sit within your internal systems, and so you can always quality check it, which is also another area of AI that people do tend to worry about, is it accurate?
Yeah, that's the key, the locking down of the system, which anyone you speak to raises that as a concern. Just one more point on this aspect, and I think we did speak about it the other week. Software. So you look at software, case management software, lots of different HR software, and I think it was only a couple of weeks ago that Anthropic, the Claude, their assistant LLM, they've done this plugin for legal firms, for legal software, and the share price of various software companies automatically decreased at that point. And I'm just interested to know how you think this type of technology will or potentially overtake traditional software.
Well, I suppose the problem previously is that we buy software, right? Well, essentially you rent it, and it's a third party. So even things like Teams, this infrastructure that you use to do calls, or you use for your calendar and your emails, you are renting it. It's another provider. The way it's going to move is you're no longer going to rent things, you're going to own it, and it will be an infrastructure that works for you, that can work internally and externally as an organization. So it's advancing in a way that organizations need to understand that it's control and customization that's the main areas of AI that will be the most important moving forward. And I don't think that's the one area. People think it's all very confusing, but in reality, there are experts and organizations that will go, actually, I'm not going to develop you something or sell you something. I'm going to create you something that you can then utilize and scale yourself however you see fit, because AI now can customize anything that you want. We went from a place of being a mental health resource app that would support people in organizations. Now we can integrate it into organizations. But not only that, pull in all of the knowledge and information and systems and support for each organization to utilize, and it will learn from what it does. So you can create anything. You can create booking calendars, data graphs, insight, recruitment systems. You can create anything you can think of or you can type in, it will create for you. So you're moving from a place of going, well, we need to go and buy a finance system, we need to go and buy a payroll system, we need to go and buy a policy system. No, you'll be able to integrate those things into your system that you will be able to use moving forward and control and customize and utilize however you see fit.
Yeah. In order for that to happen, though, there has to be a degree of organization of data, hasn't there, within the business? That's right, isn't it, I suppose?
Well, yeah, it's the way I simply look at it is it's your IP. So if you imagine all these big AI players will scrape the internet, and the internet is almost the surface level. It's not the knowledge that you have in your head. It's not the knowledge that the organization has, because you don't want that out there. Organizations won't want their policies out on Google for anyone to go and see. It's relevant only for their employees, and it's private to them. Now you're moving into a place where the AI will bring together all of the data sets through things called MCP servers. So it's a safeguarded URL, which is a fancy term for a website link. But it's not the external website link that everyone sees, like your branding, your resources, your blogs, whatever it may be. It's actually the real IP that you have within your organization. So it's the knowledge that you have, the policies, the the information that you support your clients with, you support your external organizations with, and that will be able to pull in and create those data sets for you. And a lot of these issues that we tend to find are we don't know what to do with our data. We don't have advice on how to, and then also you'll go to consultancies that will help you with that.
Yeah.
Now you're going to be able to do it by asking questions, by using a format that we all understand. But instead of it going off to the internet and scraping generic information, it's taking real knowledge and it's creating new data sets for you just by utilizing it. So that's the quite exciting part, I think, particularly for HR professionals, is wouldn't it be great to have an employee that you worked with that just soaked up everything you ever knew and then interpreted it and shared it back to you in a presentation instantly whenever you asked?
Yeah.
Within seconds, and then be able to tell you and advise you, these are some things you could do with it, and would you like me to book in some time for you to do that, or would you like me to do it for you? It's a really unique situation that people don't tend to understand, but in its simple terms, it is being able to take all of your IP, all of your information, make sense of it, and then steer you in the right direction, which you choose at the end of the day. Humans will always choose what they do with that information. But I think that's quite an exciting thing moving forward.
I mean, it's fascinating to hear all that, and especially in as the world of HR, which is the team or the department that probably deals in most data, I would think, because it's across the whole business, the whole organisation. I do need to ask you about mental health and how you think that, and I'm sure you are working on this through OKPositive as well, how AI will help organisations, employees with their mental health, with training on mental health, with prevention of issues. How do you see it working there?
Well, essentially, we've spent the last 6 years doing research on that very topic, and what was really interesting to me is that really within workplaces, mental health really comes down to how productive, supported, and valued they feel within an organization. That comes from being passionate about your job, that comes from being good at your job, comes from being rewarded for your job. And I think knowledge, what we've kind of worked around mental health as being, traditionally it's been very much rented support. It's been, here's an EAP service, here is some resources, here's some workshops that you can do. But in reality, mental health within an organization is how quickly the systems work, how well people can do their jobs, are they hitting their deadlines, are they overworked? There's a multitude of different problems and challenges that people find in their workplace, but they can't articulate it. There's no way to use that information and make changes. And the companies will sit there and go, well, we're doing all this stuff for people, but it's not getting any better. People are still leaving, people are disgruntled, people are off sick, and we don't know the reasons why. And so for building this technology into everyday life, for me, it's traditionally we go, oh, people are struggling with work because of X, Y, and Z. We assume it's because we've got tight budgets or we've got a really short deadline for some of these projects and the finance team is struggling or the IT team is struggling because we've got so many challenges with the systems. We don't know that information unless we're asking people, and we can't ask people because that takes time. So actually just building in that knowledge to support those problems as they come up and using that data just by understanding what people are doing in a system such as OKPositive in your company will mean that you can make decisions quicker, more preventative rather than reactive, to go, actually, we can see the IT system's not working, so we're going to go and fix that. Or we see that there's loads of deadlines. They need more information on this policy, this information, these resources. Mental health is really about information and support. And so we've kind of moved away from being a mental health app that you rent to we're in people infrastructure that sits within the organization. If we can help them with whatever challenge they're going through as many times a day as they need it, they're more likely to use it, they're more likely to benefit from it, because I could be struggling with the fact that I'm nervous about a webinar I'm about to do or a podcast I'm about to do with After Athena. I've got nerves about that. So what do I need to do? Okay, it could be a breathing exercise, or it could be I need more knowledge on AI for this conversation, or I need to look at what are the topics in a podcast and how do I articulate that in a better way. And so just by asking these questions, getting those answers, from a data perspective, you can start seeing, well, there's a lot of people nervous about public speaking in this organization. So you can make a decision to bring someone in to do public speaking talks, or you can implement that knowledge into the system. So it means it helps them with it in their daily work of how to public speak in team meetings, how to speak in a presentation. And so mental health is very nuanced. And I think it's no longer, okay, well, we'll support you with, you can go do an hour workshop because you're stressed. We need to understand the reasons that people are stressed, and the reasons could be work-based, they could be outside of the workplace, they could be a multitude of things, and it's understanding that and giving the knowledge and information to people to support themselves is just as crucial.
Yeah, and it's giving the data to the employer to then act on based on what they see, which in business without it, they're just guessing effectively.
It's a sat nav. Like, I always use this analogy, like the way that we rent like EAP services, that's like providing everyone a toothbrush in an organization. If one brushes their teeth, they're not going to get any healthier gums or teeth, are they? So it's about who uses it. Now, the problem is traditionally you'd go and rent those things. It's the same thing when you go for a drive. You could drive from Land's End to John O'Groats. Would you prefer a sat nav to show you the directions or where the hazards are or where there's traffic jams so you get there quicker and safer? Yes, you would. And it's the same thing in workplaces. The problem is we've had to rely on surveys, we've had to rely on workshops and committees. Now it will integrate in as a support agent to be there to go, oh, I need help with this deadline that I've got. I'm really stressed about the fact that I'm working 2 hours over every day because I can't hit these targets. And then what they're seeing is data on, without having to survey people, we can see that deadlines and targets are the biggest issues in this organization. So what do we do from that? And so when you can make those decisions with clarity, you've got that sat nav in an organization, people will perform better, they'll be heard, they'll be listened without being invaded, because a lot of people don't have that trust of being able to speak up, say that's in a team meeting or wherever they are. So it's better to get that information from anonymously from the questions that people are asking, what they're struggling with, which resources that they need in a workplace. Is it everyone's looking at their holiday policy? Okay, well, obviously it's not clear where it is, so we need to make that more apparent. We need to push that out. It's these little things that you can learn and utilize that make a big difference across an organization, and you can now do it in seconds and minutes rather than days, months, weeks.
yeah this is it, and it provides a much more positive environment for the employees, doesn't it? If you've got access to all that content, data, L&D information, whatever it might be, it's just a more positive.
Imagine being able to walk in day one into an organization and have access to every bit of knowledge you'd ever need to do your job. Like 99% of people who work in an organization want to do well at their job. It's very rare for people to go in and just say, oh, I'm just here for the paycheck. It's very much like, I want to do well. I want to feel satisfied in my job. Inspired employees are far more engaged and effective than uninspired ones. So imagine being able to walk in. Because I remember I've joined different businesses in my career and gone, right, day one, what do I do? I need to go talk to people. That's brilliant. But what if you can't? And what if you've got something that you need to go and do very quickly and don't have the information? Now you're able to just type in and ask, what do I do about this? How do I use this purchase order system? If you're talking about learning and development, it's really interesting for me. How many times do you hear, oh, we've got 7 hours over the next 2 weeks of workshops on a new system that we use, or there's training on a certain topic? And humans can't take in that information very quickly. What they need is, right, I'm on the system right now. How do I do this? And it shows them, and it actually does it for them. That's going to save an awful lot of time. And it's also going to relieve a lot of the stress on employees. And yes, it will make people feel listened to or make them feel supported. And that's something that needs to be done, and needs to be done in a meaningful way rather than, oh, well, we've got a resource that you can use if you want to.
Yeah. And I suppose I was thinking about this the other day, actually. If employees go into organisation, have access to data, access information, when we're looking at employees being able to influence and having impacts on an organisation, then it clearly has. It clearly does that because then they can access lots of data that that an organization uses. That it gives you insight, empowers them. Then it's got to help for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's this new age of everyone talking about AI. Oh, I don't want to use it. I don't know how to use it. A lot, as you see, 1.5 billion people are already using it, but they're using ChatGPT to help them write that email, to help them write that LinkedIn post, to help them do this. And it's not relevant information. It's not representative. It's not the knowledge that they need. What we're saying now is the future is it will be integrated in everything they do. And surely an organization will benefit from, if you even talk about mergers, acquisitions, teams joining together, a new project that you're doing, whatever it may be, there's a lot of time taken to understand, get up to speed with, okay, what's going on here, more meetings, more deadlines, more overwhelm. Imagine having access, right, well, I need access to all of that information that you have so I can be prepared for this meeting as well from the other side. Now you can just get it instantly without having to contact those people if you don't have time or you can't. And these things will really benefit people because I'd love to have all of the knowledge of everything in the organization. You forget we're humans. So we'll go, actually, I don't have an encyclopedia on everything that we do. I'll come back to you later on that. But imagine you can go, no, I've got the information now. Let me just ask. So it can make anything better, from sales to marketing to internal operations to knowledge to learning and development. And the best part is it can all be in one place.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at, you touched on it at the very beginning of the conversation around the control of AI, and the obvious statement is that we need to keep control of it. And I read something actually yesterday about it's not AI that's going to change business. It's going to be leadership. So it's going to be leadership using technology and using AI. So how do organizations retain that control and retain control of not just how they implement it, but how people are using it?
Well, I suppose that comes down to how organizations manage their systems already and how they do things. Because as I said, AI is coming, it's already here. It's in everything that you use now. And people are using it externally with kind of the big providers that are more generic. Essentially, moving forward, organizations will need to create their own. And instead of saying, okay, we'll just develop this part for this thing, it's going actually and finding a provider will go, right, we own this. This is our control. This is our system. It will link in through MCP service to all the things that we currently use that we want to keep, that are relevant to what we do, and then make it live and breathe through conversational AI. So it's available to every employee with different, obviously, permissions of what they can see and what they can do. If you've got your senior leadership team, they probably need to see more of the kind of business operations and bottom line information. The finance team will need all access to all the finance information. That might not be as relevant for, say, the marketing team. But you'll need all of this kind of data and information in one place, and it will seal it off. So the problem I see is the big players are all racing, that's the $1 trillion investment, to be the app for everything for everyone. And it's the same model that you'll see in any social media that we've had before, or any technology, is either you get it for free or for cheaper, and you give away your data and information. That's the kind of trade-off. Cookies, all this stuff that we never really understood. That's the price you pay for it being free to utilize. Or you create your own system that is specific to what you want. And the beauty of AI moving forward is that you can walk before you run, but you can just keep implementing and adding. So you can create a system for an organization that will do everything that you want it to do, because you can ask it to create those pieces of functionality. And if you seal it off and control it, it's very powerful and it stays with you. And that's where it's very crucial to get all of those things in order. Make sure you're working with someone that does it for you, or you work with, that will give you control and ownership of the IP and the data side of it. So if you do those things, you're going to have, I don't like to use the term a super hub, but essentially that is what it is. It's a super hub of everything that you'd want to have in your organization, and then you can create however you like. And you don't need to be a coder, you don't need to be a genius in technology. You need to be able to type in and ask questions and use the functionality to create these things.
In recent times, we've seen AI being used in recruitment, and it's on the topic of control, where there's been mistakes made, bias approach. So, is your view that that's just poor testing, poor data in the system? Is there any other way that organisations can keep an eye on that or develop it safely?
Make sure you use the technology and set strict policies on it that it can only pull information that you add to it, so it can't create new stuff that you don't give it access to the information for. That's one area. In terms of recruitment, like there's a massive element of looking at the gig economy at the moment. I know a few great organizations that are doing that, because if you think about it, quite often it's very difficult for HR or people or talent teams in organizations to understand that there could be someone in this department that has perfect experience and ambitions to work over here in the organization. It would cost a lot less money to go and recruit them from there and backfill that position, or understanding what talent you have within an organization that you don't realize, because a lot of people don't bring their whole selves to work and say, actually, I'm an expert in 3D printing, or I'm an expert in business intelligence reports. That's just what they do in their free time, or that's what they do as a hobby. And you've got that skill set that you don't understand. Being able to use this AI now to create an internal recruitment system is a couple of clicks and a couple of typing in messages for it. And then what you can do is you can create that ambition for people in organizations to go, there are ways to move sideways or move up in an organization without having to wait for an announcement where you go externally and things like that. I think we will see a big push for internal recruitment moving forward, because that inspires employees to go, I've got a future. How many people do we hear about that go, oh, I've progressed as far as I can in this organization, or I've changed, I don't want to work in marketing anymore, I want to work in sales, but I've got to go elsewhere to do that. Now there's abilities to utilize this technology in that hub for people to understand, right, what do I need to do? Like, if you imagine learning as an example on this, so you need to have certain skills to get a certain job, like an MBA as an example. Traditionally, you'd have to go and do a course for that, pay for it, and go step by step by step, and take that outside of your work and do these projects to get that qualification. Now you can implement that learning and training in, and it will remember each employee's stage, where they are, and it will say, oh, you've got this next stage of your learning. Do you want me to implement that into your daily work? And it can do that because it's linked to the system. So, by the way, in this meeting, if you add this in, and it will show them their progress, because learning has become it's called determinant rather than linear. And what that means in simple terms is you don't no longer have to get that MBA, do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 to get there. You can now implement that into your daily life. So it doesn't stop you doing your job. You're learning the MBA while you're doing your job. Yeah. And that's the difference. It's determinant learning.
Which means you could apply that to career progression, performance indicators, PDRs, one-to-ones. It would all be progressive, the terminology you just used, in terms of learning, which can be measured as you go along.
Yes, and that's the best part from an HR or leadership perspective is think about how much time is taken to do a performance review or to do an appraisal and things like that, where it's very much reliant on, and it sounds bad, but it's the bias of that manager who either sees that person working hard or doesn't see that person working hard, or doesn't see the stuff that they're doing in their free time to help, or overworking, all these different things. Now, because it's linked to the system of all the stuff that they're doing within the platform, you're able to then go, right, okay, well, they've actually progressed in these different fields. They've really, really done well at this element. These are things they need to learn more of. It can write the appraisal for them without the bias of a manager that either likes them, doesn't like them, and things like that. It takes out the human bias to go, actually, these are the things they've done. Because if you think about it, I've been in conversations about appraisals, and I worked in sales, so it was very much about, I've made this amount of money and I've done this, I want this. That's very easy in sales to kind of recommend what you want and validate that. In different fields it's much more difficult, but with a system that helps you build that for yourself but also can report that from both sides, you've got a appraisal built there, and then it's a conversation, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable asking for a raise, or don't feel comfortable asking for promotion, or don't want to be seen as too ambitious. But we want that in organizations. We want ambitious people who want to make more money and progress and become a manager, or be the right person for a manager, because you can see someone could be perfect at all of these administrative skills, could be really great at doing the presentations, but don't want to lead people. But actually, traditionally, people have gone, well, you're doing really well. The next step up is a manager position, but actually it could be somewhere else. And having that data and insight that's being done without you having to do it, you're essentially learning without having to learn or take the effort to do it. can only benefit those processes.
Yeah, it also strikes, just from our profession, the legal profession, we obviously, and other professions as well, but where you're dealing with levels of risk and levels of advice, and thresholds you need to get through to go to the next level of advisory. This is the sort of thing that would be an excellent tool, because you can learn, pick up, and these thresholds will be automatically met, or we can at least see when they are met, rather than someone's opinion. It will be a set threshold.
It'll be built on data, and
It'll
it's
be
the
built
thing,
on,
like,
yeah.
And it's hard to argue against that. And actually, also from a perspective of being able to say to an employee, you're not there yet. An employee will tend to say that as, oh, they just don't like me, or I actually feel like I should be. But actually, if you've got hard data of these are the bits you can improve on. It's like if you look at elite performance in sports, why have I been dropped from the team?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the coach doesn't like me. No, it's because you haven't hit your numbers here on the amount of running you were meant to do in that match, or you drop off here and you made these errors, but you were really good in this area. These are the bits we want you to focus on. And when you hit those, we have to pick you, because that's exactly what we're looking for. And so it gives that safety from both sides, from an employer, but also from the employee, to be able to go, actually, if I'm ready for this, and the data's saying I'm ready for this, the employer surely will be like, yeah, that's perfect, because that's exactly what we need.
I really love that. I think I mean, even down to, and we've all been sat in PDRs or one-to-ones where, how have you done this year? And you're not fully prepared for the meeting. The person doing the one-to-one doesn't necessarily know what you've done either. So what an excellent way, having this all built in, to be able to say, well, this is what you've done. This is what you've done well. This is what you need to do. Drawing from the data within the system. Yeah, amazing.
And you don't need to go and pay another organisation to come and facilitate it.
No,
for
exactly.
you, It's a win-win-win there, I guess.
Just moving on to probably the final section, I have to talk about it because we're in the legal profession. So the tech and the law, and AI and the law. I mean, as you know, I have some views on how lawyers can use technology and benefit clients and firms, actually. But I mean, how do you see it? What do you see the role of the lawyer in AI, and maybe within the market, how it might work?
I think efficiency, I think, is the key, and speed, because I can't speak from a legal profession side, but if you have access to knowledge quicker from both sides, you're prepared quicker, you're able to create reports, legal jargon, for want of a better term, legal terminology, quicker, without having to take more time on that, rather than actually focusing on the strategy of it, or what it means and what the outcomes would be. I mean, that can only benefit. If you're sat there and said, well, we've got to deal with this situation legally, and it's very, very, it's a tricky process, having all of the administrative stuff done so you can focus on that process and overcheck it and understand it, so it is locked tight and understandable and it's all correct. If you can do that a lot quicker, with the assurity of that it's all the information that's relevant, if you have the policies built in, or you need to create new information, that's going to benefit both the customer or the client that you're working with, but also the people who are supporting them, the lawyers themselves. So it is, if you think about, we rely a lot on human memory to go, actually, oh, I forgot that bit, or, oh, actually, was I wrong there? Actually, you now have a fact checker for yourself that's specific to you, that remembers you and remembers what you need to do and can remind you, can only benefit the industry from both sides.
Yeah, and I think the point there about memory, going back on previous advice, even policies, procedures, documentation, the way things have been done in the past in an organisation, we as lawyers see that all the time, where there's been inconsistent behaviours, inconsistent treatment, and this is where AI comes in. I genuinely do believe that there is the possibility that claims could be reduced, procedures can be more streamlined, and the consistency can be greater with the use of this sort of technology, I think.
Yeah, if you can, from a customer side, if you're providing information and education quicker to them without having to do that hands-on, so you can focus on the actual case, but also then be able to analyze the performance or the outcomes of each different case, and look at the essentially just type in, I want to see every single employment law case from the last 2 years, and I want to see what the differentiators, what were the correlations, which bits to look out for, which bits were the sticking points, and it creates that report instantly for you, specific to your situation in case that you have now. That can only benefit the lawyer themselves.
Well, I think, I mean, if you take employment tribunal judgments, employment appeal tribunal judgments, and you look internal at an organisation, it was possible to get a summary of every single case, very much like judgments. You've got your own mini database of judgments there, which, you know, you can use in training, you can use in live processes, you can use with lawyers. Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be the way it will work to an organisation's benefit, for sure. I'm conscious of time, so I think we'll call it a day there, Charlie. It's been really interesting. As you know, I have a significant interest in this, and I'm sure we'll speak again at some point soon. But thank you very much, Charlie, for joining us. Specifically looking at the beneficial impacts of AI, which is not always brought to the surface for organisations and for people. I guess the big points for me are that we should embrace AI. I think now is the time to embrace AI. We've got to control it, how it's used. The data we input is critical, I suppose, to get the successful output. And as I'd said, and as you've discussed as well, I guess leadership and the people within the business are paramount to use that technology in an effective way as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If anyone would like to find out more about After Athena, our services, or OKPositive and Charlie, and the services we provide for employment law and HR and technology, then please visit our websites, and the contact details are there to contact myself or Charlie or anyone else in the organisation. So, but for now, thank you for listening and watching. Thank you very much.